Okay guys, so this is how you are going to apply the retouch color on your mannequin for your NOCTI. You're gonna make sure you use protective cream, protecting your client. You notice I have my gloves on. She has a chemical 2-towel drape. There's a towel, a cape, and another towel. That is everything you do for a chemical draping. You will start taking the hair in 1/4 inch partings. I like to outline my area. So you're gonna outline the hairline very carefully. And then you'll take your first section, 1/4 inch parting, clipping the hair out of the way. You're gonna go bottom, and you're gonna go from the scalp to 1.5 inches out. And you're gonna repeat this on this entire section, doing 1/4 inch partings. The reason we do 1/4 inch partings is because you wanna make sure that you have proper saturation on your hair. If you take too big of a section, you're not gonna have enough saturation, and you might get blotchiness, and the colors aren't gonna process the same way. So you really need to make sure that you have that entire section of hair saturated with your color. You don't wanna get anything on your mid strand or on your ends. This is just your color retouch. So you're only doing from the scalp to 1.5 inches out. You're gonna continue this process the whole way up that area, making sure that you're nice and saturated. Dropping your sections down. Going in, I'm using my plastic rat tail comb to drop my sections down. I'm taking very clean partings, and I'm not flipping the hair over to the other side because I don't want to get color on any other area of the head. So I'm mainly working in my quadrant right here, going 1.5 inches out. I get the top, I make sure that the bottom is saturated, I drop it down. If I see any spots that need a little bit more, I just go in and feather that color in. Again, leaving it away from the ends. Taking my hair up, doing the bottom section, dropping that down, 1 inch, 1/4 inch section, taking that color 1 to 1.5 inches out from the scalp. Everything else is left out. Again, making sure completely saturated. Why would I want to make sure that I'm completely saturated? What happens if you do not saturate top and bottom of the hair? What would happen if I'm doing a retouch color?
The color won't be right, and it will have like different spots. I would say not different colors, but different colors.
Yes, it will be splotchy. So you can have, has anybody ever seen color that you've gotten done and it looks like they've missed a spot? It's just because it wasn't saturated. Or they could have missed a spot, but however, most of the time it's just from lack of saturation. And do you see how I'm doing everything in a nice, clean manner? I'm keeping everything into this area. My gloves don't have color all over them. The client doesn't have color all over them. I'm doing it in a neat fashion way to make sure that I'm following all safety procedures, making sure my client is safe at all times and I am safe at all times. Everything is sanitary. And I'm just I keep clipping it up out of the way so that way I can get in and do what I need to do. Top and bottom, going in, saturating, making sure that this bottom is saturated, making sure my corners are saturated, dropping it down, bringing that section down, and I'm clipping it out of the way. The reason I'm using clips is so that I can control that hair. Clips mean control. You have to get in the habit of using clips. I see a lot of you guys that just go in and do the hair. You have to get the control. Clipping out of the way helps you with your your sections, and it also helps you with maintaining control. If there's too much hair, that's where you make mistakes. If you're taking too big of a section, if you're taking, you know, too wide of parts, then that color is only going to hit the top and bottom. If I took this whole section right now, and I'm just going to show you what would happen if I did this and I let it go. If I split it down the middle, can you see that there's no product on that at all? So that would be a missed area. So that's why the saturation is extremely important. I'm gonna go back in and make sure I get that, so that way when this is left for an example, nobody sees that. So this is your color retouch. This is what it's gonna look like. See how my ends are free from color? My mid strand is free from color. There's nothing on this hair. It's all clean. That's how you want it to look. You want to be able to see that you have protective cream on your clients. Especially for NOCTI, they will be looking for that. Okay? Now this section, we're gonna do the NOCTI Virgin application for chemical relaxing. Now we're gonna put new gloves on. And then we're gonna start with this section. Again, we are going to use protective cream, get it around the hairline. It's really important. Your proctor will look to make sure you do have protective cream. Is that not right, Miss S? Protective cream. You don't want to stick it in your ear, but you want to make sure that you can see. The protective cream acts as a barrier so that none of the chemicals touch the client's skin on their face, okay? Keep everything in a safe and sanitary manner. I don't want to get the protective cream anywhere on my client besides where I placed it, so I made sure that I wiped it off the back of my glove. Working from the bottom, again, you are going to take 1/4 inch partings. That seems to be
Mr. Myers in Advanced Manufacturing, call extension 200. Mr. Myers in Advanced Manufacturing, call extension 200.
Okay, so you're holding the hair out. You will start from about 1 inch to 1.5 inches away from the scalp, and you're gonna go 1 inch to 1.5 inches away from the ends. This is called your midsection, mid-strand, or middle section of the hair, okay? So this is what it should look like. You should make sure that you do the top and the bottom so that you have proper saturation, and then you just lay it down. This is the only area that you will be placing products because this is a virgin application, which means there's no product on the hair at all. There's no chemicals on the hair. So then you take your next section down. Again, 1/4 inch parting. Nothing should be on that scalp area. The only thing it should be on your mid shaft. Again, making sure that you properly saturate that hair. You're gonna go in 1 to 1.5 inches away from the scalp is your starting point, and you're gonna take that down to 1 to 1.5 inches away from the ends of the hair. That should be the only area that has product. And you want to make sure you're doing top and bottom of that section. You do not want to do the scalp or the ends. The scalp process is faster on any point of chemical service, and also your ends, because your ends are the oldest part of your hair. It's the thing furthest away from your scalp, and it's the most porous. So your ends, your scalp will process quicker due to body heat. Obviously, Tina does, well, this is Whitney. Whitney does not have body heat. However, if this was a guest, that's why the scalp tends to process faster, because the body heat releases from our heads. So again, we're taking this section down, making sure that we are completely saturated on top and bottom. I lift it up a little bit so that I can see, and then I just slide it back down. Do you see how it's nice and clean at the scalp area, nice and clean on the ends? There's no product on either one of those two. Okay. Does anybody have any questions on this? No? Okay, seems pretty easy. Okay, once you guys do practice run of this, I'm gonna want you guys to go through and do start to finish to see if you can do all the chemical services in that 40 minutes. If you have enough time. I know the end of the school year is coming up and we're running out of time, but if you think you can do it, I absolutely encourage trying. Again, everything will come down, making sure that you're saturated. Does anybody have any questions? Why do we use a protective cream? Doesn't irritate the skin. And what doesn't irritate the skin from? What is it protecting from?
Chemicals.
The chemicals, yes. Very good. Do we always have to use a protective cream? For chemical services. We're not going to use a protective cream if we're doing a haircut, right? No. Chemical services, we always want to protect our guest. Now, when you guys are cleaning out the mannequins, you can just rinse this out and your hair will be nice, shiny, and soft because this is just a deep conditioner. This is not going to alter your mannequin's hair color or anything. This is just a deep conditioner. This is cholesterol. And then once we finish this, I'll show you how to do the 5 perm rod wrap with your chemicals, and then you will have all your chemicals done. Again, making sure I kind of hold the ends so I can see where they're at to make sure that I get far enough down, but I also keep tension. I'm not yanking the hair super tight because with doing chemicals, you want to watch tension. You don't want to pull it, especially if the hair has been processed multiple times. Like if you're doing foils, you want to make sure that you're not overlapping the color. That's why we teach you how to do the scalp out, ends out, so that you get used to understanding how to not overlap when you're doing services. Now, after this section would be done on a customer, you will then, when you're doing the retouch, you would do the same thing, retouch area, where you would just do the scalp and not put it where the area was already used. Any questions as I go through this last couple sections? One thing with chemical relaxing, you really want to be sure that you are smoothing that area out, because that's part of a relaxer, is you want to try to take some of that curl out of the hair. So you're relaxing that curl pattern. Okay. And I try to keep my line pretty solid, and then you can feather it a little bit so that you don't get such a harsh line. But you just want to make sure that you are saturating again every section of that hair. The nice thing about the cholesterol is you can see it on the hair strand, so you can see if you miss spots. The gel, sometimes it looks just wet, so you can't really see where your application is. Sometimes we'll do food coloring in the cholesterol to show, like, this is the chemical relaxer and this is the hair color. That way it's separated by color as well. So this is what your retouch color will look like. This is what your virgin application of chemical relaxing looks like. We will then do the perm portion of it. I'm just going to clean up this area real quick and then get everything situated for the perm. Now the nice thing about perm rods is you're going to maintain the same tension and the same muscle memory that you used when you were doing a roller set. Making sure that the hair, I need to move this over just a little bit. Okay. So you're gonna do 5 perm rods in the head. Tension matters on the perm wrap. You also want to make sure that you are taking the size of your roller. You will be using a white perm rod. So you want to make sure that you're using the long perm rod, which are these. There are short ones, but you want to make sure you're using the long one. You want to make sure your hair is nice and free from any kind of tangle. I do a bookend where you put one on top and one on the bottom of the hair strand. And I always just spray it just a little bit to get that nice, even wrap on the hair so that there's nothing bunched up. You want to make sure too, like if you can see, she's got different lengths of hair. So one piece is really long. So we're just going to make sure that we go in and we pull that the whole way up to make sure that there's no fish hooks. And then we grab this end of the hair and we just put it right onto the roll. So it's on the rod and we're just gonna work our hands down and we just roll down with even tension. One of the most important things is you have a nice clean wrap on that roller or that rod. You release. Do you see the end? How it has the plastic piece and then it has the cap. The cap goes into the perm wrap. That was fun. That will happen. If that happens, you can just grab a different perm rod. But it will just click right back in. There's a hole made for them. And you'll just put that rubber band right back in there, maybe. But this is good to show because this could happen during day of when you're doing your NOCTI application. So, now remember, if you drop the top off, your time still doesn't stop. So you must still continue to go and wrap that. Now this one's not gonna work, so this might happen where you have to take it out and get a new perm rod. But I'm glad that that happened so you guys can see what to do if that happens during the actual NOCTI exam. Again, I'm gonna do my bookends, making sure it's on both sides of the hair. I'm holding the hair up. I'm gonna roll my perm rod up, again, taking that side to make sure there's no fish hooks in there at all. Bringing that other side up, and I'm going, rolling it down the head, making sure it's a nice, clean roll, taking my end, and I'm putting it on top. The one thing you don't wanna do is you don't wanna twist your band at any point, because if it's a twisted band, it can add tension to the hair and cause breakage. Also, you don't want to roll it right to the scalp with that band because again, that can cause tension and cause breakage. So it will stay there. You want to make sure you're working your way down. So you'll have your second one. Again, making sure you have a nice clean parting. Do you remember the very first day of school where we had you guys do hair partings and everybody hated it? It's amazing how many things incorporate hair partings. So I go all the way up, my hair is up, my arms are up, I'm keeping that tension. I pull it, roll it to where there's no fish hooks, And a fish hook is when the hair is not straight down, it's when the hair is curved anywhere on that perm rod. And I'm just rolling it down, bringing it straight down, nice clean roll, releasing the rubber bands, and then connecting it. Okay, does everybody see? Can you see? Okay. Then I'm gonna bring it down. I have my third one coming in. Same thing, nice clean parting, making sure the hair is nice and tangle free. Why is it important to have this tangle free before you do a perm rod wrap? So what? What did you say?
It's like all even
So it's even.
and no fish hook.
You don't want fish hooks, but you also don't want any type of added tension to the hair. If it's matted, you don't want to have that added tension. So we're going to pull it up, make sure there's no fish hooks, and we're bringing it straight down. Nice clean part, nice clean roll, releasing that rubber band because it was twisted, straightening it out, and taking it right over to the side. Do you see how we have nice clean rolls? There's not a lot of hair sticking out everywhere. You want it to be a nice, clean, smooth roll. Okay, I have 2 more to do, and then I will show you what to do with the cotton. Whoops. It's spilling. The box right up in the dispensary.
Oh.
Yep. Same thing, pulling it to make sure there's no fish hooks, keeping my arms up. If I drop my arms, my rod will not roll the way it needs to, and you can have an extra spacing there. And then I'm just gonna make sure that I take my rubber bands. I'm making sure there's no hair connected in that, and I'm just gonna connect it over. It's really important to make sure you're not grabbing hair from somewhere else. My next section, I'm lifting it up still, making sure there's no tangles in the hair to give us a nice even smoothness around the perm rod, taking it down. This will be the last one, rolling it all the way up to get that fish hook. Do you see how there's no fish hook there? Pulling it straight up, rolling it down. If the hair is uneven, sometimes you can just kind of walk it up the hair like that if it's wet enough, and then you can just walk it down. And then you'll take it right, making sure that the hair is nice and smooth. I have my 5 perm rods. I'll take my piece of cotton, and you're going to wrap the hair around by the cotton. The cotton protects the hair, and it also protects the client's skin and face during the application of the waving lotion and the neutralizer. You will mock it for your NOCTI. You will use an empty bottle, and you will take it and you will go on top, squeezing it out, bottom, squeezing it out, back and forth, top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom. And then you'll place your stuff on the counter and step aside to let them know that you're done with that portion of your NOCTI exam. And those are the last 3 chemical portions of NOCTI.